I didn't turn the record on.
Deb and I should be in Italy right now. Deb and I should be in Italy right now for 3 months. I mean, and so
18 what?
42.
and
Enough.
having that song drone
Okay,
into
good.
me. Anyway, lots of things drone into me. What can I say? I want to start this talk by really just sharing that, well, the narrative of today's talk is going to be around the pandemic and my experience of it, or our experience of it. Mine, I'll speak for myself. I won't give it to anybody else. But I want to tell you is that this talk, I trust, is going to provide a tool or a tool that will open the door for anyone who's suffering anything at this particular time. And when I was thinking about it and putting it together, I was thinking how this particular thing that's happening to us in our lives has a monumental effect in so many different ways, in so many different ways in our lives. It's the health, it's the wealth, it's the creative expression, it's the loving relationship. You know, that the health obviously is COVID and the fear that goes around it. And the wealth is there's a lot of people who perhaps aren't making the income they're accustomed to. And in addition to that, the other thing is that there's all the money that our government's spending and putting out and how that's adding up. And then the creative expression is, what do you do right now for creative expression if you're kind of locked up inside your house? How do you express yourself in your work? And work is changing constantly. And then there's the loving relationships. And, we've been 6 months at home now. And I tell you, I used to travel 200 days a year, and I had a really quality relationship. And I still do, but it's a different experience now than it's ever been before. I haven't spent so much time together with Deborah for, I don't know, forever. So this talk is really setting up for all those things. So if you want, just choose whatever flavor you want at this particular time and going on. And I trust that through my experiences, I'll be able to lead you to something that's going to awaken and allow you to move forward in this area, to find something new that's breaking through. And I'll also share with you that I came into this teaching somewhat of as a cynic, and I had a lot of challenges with it. I had a lot of stuff that was going on around it. And this teaching has taught me over the last 35 years, without question, that there's a different way to be able to live my life than I've lived before. And it is the principles that have been shared with me that have been so empowering in my life that when I look back, when I do a little bit of contemplation on what I'm speaking about today, I realize that I've got time after time after time after time after time that I have gone to the principles of this teaching, the principles of truth that Ernest Holmes stole from other people and brought forward and put into a summary in the Science of Mind text and his other writings that really awakened within me and gave me the tools that I could actually make some changes in my life. And so I'm asking you to suspend your cynicism, no matter what it looks like. Just open yourself up. Holmes wrote, "Hence it follows that if we believe that it will not work, it really works by appearing not to work. When we believe that it cannot and will not, then according to the principle, it does not. But when it does not, it still does according to our belief." It's a tough book to read. But you get the sense behind it. And where I was really moved to open myself to understanding a new truth, a new idea in truth, was really looking around at the success rate of all the students that I had in my class when I was going through Science of Mind classes, and then coming to Kelowna and looking at the success that I've seen in other people who actually diligently, with discipline, apply these principles to put them into their lives and make them work. And it is the relieving of that cynicism that allowed me even to entertain the idea that a lot of this works. So be open, and we'll see where this flows and see where this goes. So I don't know about you, but I've been in limbo for a while. 6 months to be exact. You know, I came out of retirement and immediately went into the pandemic. And I had all these ideas of the things I was going to do. And I had them all set out in my mind. I was going to travel. I was going to, spend more time with friends in intimate situations. I had it all laid out in my mind what this whole thing was going to look like, exactly how it would flow. As a matter of fact, according to my schedule, Deb and I should be in Italy right now for 3 months. I mean, and so I ever since this has started happening, in March, it was like, it was okay. It was all right. It was for enforced captivity within my home with Deborah. And then April came, then May, then June, then July, and now into August, our 6th month. And what I found and discovered for myself is that this limbo I'm in is really living, waiting for this to end. It's like I've taken my whole life and put it on a shelf and said, when the pandemic's over, when this happens, then I'll get on with my life. Then I'll start doing things. Then I'll start creating things. Then I'll be able to do all the things that I planned in the old world, what it was going to look like. And for a long time, I thought, oh, it's no problem. It'll be over in the fall. Oh, it's no problem. It'll be over next spring, whatever. And all of those things might sound lighthearted, but it really was a question of shoving everything down and saying, I'm waiting for it to end. When it ends, then I'll start living my life again. And the horrific thing about that is that I know that doesn't work. But I wasn't aware that I was doing it. I don't know whether or not you're doing it or not, but I knew that I wasn't aware that I was doing it. I was talking to a friend of ours, a friend of the center who comes to the center, who used to have an elected position in the federal government. And he mentioned to us one day in conversation that he'd been talking to the Minister of Transport for the Canadian government. And he said to them, the Minister of Transportation, he said, do you think that we're going to be able to travel this winter? And the minister said, no, I absolutely know you're not going to be traveling this winter. So he said, well, when do you think we'll get out? He said, well, maybe late next year, but I doubt it. It'll probably be 3 years from now before we find ourselves back in that mode of transportation, the way to go. I see all these faces being made around here. And when I heard it, it was like, don't tell me that. I don't want to hear that, And so, I went immediately to, no, that's not true for me. I'm going to find a way to be able to do it. But there's going to be some way that we can break through. And I believe that's true today. But it was the first inkling that I had that I couldn't put my life on limbo anymore. That I actually had to start making new choices and making new decisions than the ones I had before, the ones that I had previous to this. And then, I found myself the next time, and the next person that I talked to was, I'm listening to Amanda last night at dinner. And we were talking about various things, and I was sharing that on the radio that I'd heard that this COVID is actually in the same family as the common cold is. And once again, I don't want to hear that. We've all heard the adage and the saying that there's no cure for the common cold, only it's a deadly version of it. And what she shared last night at dinner, she said, I've heard that this will never end. This is the new way to go. This is the new thing. And if that isn't terrifying, I don't know what is, except it shouldn't be. If you take your life off of limbo and you actually begin doing something and learning that I can transform my experiences, and through that transformation of my experiences, accepting the present moment right now, that I actually will begin to be able to build that joy, that harmony, that love, that health, that wealth, that creative expression, that loving relationship that I'm looking at. It's just not going to look like what I anticipated or expected it would look like 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 10 years, 20 years ago. There's a new thing that's happening. I'm probably going to repeat myself on some of the talks you've heard me say before, but it's very pertinent this particular time. I remember Raymond Charles Barker telling Deb and I years ago, back in the 80s, in a conversation with him, saying that when he ran into confusion or doubt in his life, what he would do is he'd go into his den, he would close his den, and he'd say, Barker, you need a bigger idea. And what I'm finding right now is I need a bigger idea of what's going on. I need to look at this from a different point of view. Instead of looking at this from the point of view that it's just going to go away and disappear sometime, which President Trump told us it was, and it probably will once we change our mind to that particular degree, but there's a lot of work to be done between now and then. It isn't going away. This change and transformation that we're having in our life right now, we're only seeing the beginning of it. And if I continue to live my life in limbo and putting it on hold, what's my life going to look like? I have to start finding some sparks and some ideas to be able to move into a new way of being, a new way of living, and to be able to actually proceed with my life so that I can continue to be fulfilled, so I can continue to be productive, so I can continue to give back to the universe and give back to life, so I can continue to have the flow of life flow in as well as out. And that's the circumstance and the situation that I'm in. And so when Deborah was talking about she's feeling sadness, well, I am too. But the sadness is really an awakening. It's an aha. It's an awareness that it's time to get moving on my experience called life and not put it on limbo or hold anymore. I can't afford to do that. And I've done it in the past. I've had circumstances in the past where I've used the principles of this teaching, the principles of science and mind, to be able to awaken myself to get a new idea. When Barker told us that, I remember, obviously, 30 some odd years ago, I still hold it and I still practice it on a regular basis. When I run into this sense of limbo, when I run into this sense of indecision, when I run into this sense of ennui, what I can do is awaken within myself the memory that what I need is to go into the den of my own mind, close the door and say, Gordon, you need a bigger idea. You need something more powerful than what you're utilizing right now. You need to be able to do it so that you can implement it. And I don't know where it's going to lead. I don't know whether it's going to lead to a new way to express or whether it's going to lead to picking up an old way and making it different. However, and we're looking at it in our center, we're looking at it in what we do in the church, we have to be open and receptive. And if you're anything like I am, you're probably finding yourself in a situation you even realize it changed, and it's time to change with it. Years and years ago, my good friend, practitioner, and I can remember I was going through a similar thing that was happening and going on in my life, and I was working through it, and I was totally dissatisfied. I was just at a low ebb in my life, and one day I phoned him up, and I said, Tony, you got to tell me what to do. Don't pray for me. Don't give me a treatment. I've been doing all that. What do I need to do to change my life? And Tony said, he thought for a minute, actually, and he sat back and he said, okay, Ken, I want you to do 3 things. Because he knew I was reaching out and I was saying, give me something to do that will allow me to raise myself above this. Give me something to do which will allow me to be able to rise above this sense of limbo, this sadness that Dr. Deborah talked about, to be able to move forward in my life. Give me something practical and tangible that I can do. And I remember Tony said, number 1, the first thing you need to do is you need to adjust your prayer. Instead of doing your spiritual mind treatment about yourself, start treating for something larger. Start treating for something bigger in the world, something that is tangible for you that you can do it. And that's really when I joined the peace movement and started treating for peace. The other thing that he recommended that I do is he said, do something different. Do something you've never done before. Go out and don't go do the same old thing again, what you've been doing regularly for the last 20 years. Get out there and do something different. And so I took a creative writing course, and that helped free and open some stuff up. And the final thing he said was, don't go to bed at night without making a gratitude list. And I know every person here can, and I know a lot do. I know Deborah does, but I highly recommend that you begin to focus on what you're grateful for within your own confine of where you happen to be, rather than everything that's going on, the fragmented chaos that looks like it's happening in the world around there. So it gives you that opportunity to do it, and I did it, and because of that, I'll share with you, Deborah and I ended up moving back to Kelowna, to our hometown. We ended up starting the Center for Positive Living back in those days, and we ended up building this center because I heard those 3 words and listened to them, and because I moved through it, and mostly because those 3 tips that he gave me allowed me to move to a bigger idea, to an idea that was greater than the one that I've got right now. I was on a virtual show the other day with some people, and a minister was interviewing me. And we were talking about all kinds of interesting things. And somehow or other, we got on the topic of how the world has been transforming for quite some time. What with the internet and with the ability to communicate anywhere, at any time, at anybody, in any place, how this enlarging idea is expanding all the time so that we're getting it. And somebody on the call said, yeah, you know, the world's becoming a smaller place. And it dawned on me, it struck me suddenly, that that was totally untrue. The world hasn't changed in its dimensions or its size. The world has not become smaller. We've become bigger. We have become bigger because through evolution, we are developing bigger ideas on what goes on in the world around us. And this circumstance and this situation that we have facing us right now is another opportunity for us to get a bigger and a greater idea than the one we've had before. Barker, you need a bigger idea. I can remember when the fires were going on in 2003 and the South Okanagan was on fire. Maybe many of you from Kelowna actually remember that, but we lost 400 homes and things like that. It was quite incredible. And having grown up here, I can remember looking out over the fire from Dilworth, where we live, and sitting there and watching it and thinking, that's where I grew up. That was my past. That was all the things that I did. That's where I used to play. That's where I used to run. That's where I used to bike. And now it was all on fire and being destroyed in my eyes. And I can remember I felt personalized, like I personalized it, like something was being taken away from me. And I fell back on the old idea instead of developing a new idea. And that the new idea came to me when Deb and I were invited to do a wedding up in Silver Star. And we go up to Silver Star, and I can remember we went up into a high meadow, and we were doing the wedding, and they had their little gazebo and all the chairs set up, and all the little white skirts and the flowers, and the bride and the groom were there all dressed to the nines. And we had to hike for 45 minutes to get where we were. And I was standing there getting ready to do the wedding. Very serious, solemn. And I'm standing there ready to do the wedding. And before the bride came in, I'm standing with the ushers. Before the bride came in, all of a sudden this female sow bear comes up with her cubs. And I'm standing there, and she walks right up the aisle. And as she's walking up the aisle, everybody starts clearing out of the way and running to the back. And she walks up the aisle, and I get out of the gazebo and move around, and she walks through, and we all keep safe distance. Just never growled, never did anything, just her and 3 cubs behind her plodding up this trail that went up over top of the thing. It's something she'd been doing forever and ever and ever and ever. It was her pathway. We were the strangers. She wasn't aggressive or assertive, but she shocked us. And I can remember after seeing that, getting back in the car and driving back to Kelowna, and we were driving past the airport, driving towards home, and the smoke and the cinders were there from, remember the fire in 2003? And the army had been called out to help fight the fires, and all these army trucks were racing past, and you couldn't see your hand in front of your face because of it. And I could remember suddenly realizing that it wasn't personal, that it was just nature's way. What we're looking at right now isn't personal. It's just nature's way. And it's been put there, it's been developed, and it's been created for the purpose for each and every one of us to be able to move ourselves to a place to expect and expand and get a greater idea in our life and a greater idea on what we do. You know, you and I need a bigger idea. But I know something. It will never come unless I ask for it and I'm receptive to it. Those are the requirements that are open. So my treatment now is I believe in God and absolutely nothing else. I recognize and know that I am unified with this power, and I speak my word right now knowing that that greater part of myself dissipates and dissolves any cynicism or any block within me that prevents me from recognizing and knowing the truth of my being when I need to know it. I also ask this power to move within me, to open the doors and the gates of receptivity so that I might see it clearly, feel it, sense it, embrace it, live it, and therefore experience it. Dr. Holmes wrote, "We're dealing with an infinite power which knows only its own ability to do. And since it can objectify any idea impressed upon it, there can be no limit to what it can or would do for us, other than the limit of our own inward embodiment. Limitation is not in principle nor in law, but only in the individual use we make of that principle. Our individual use of it can only equal our individual capacity to understand it, to embody it. We cannot demonstrate beyond our ability to provide a mental equivalent of our own desire." What he's saying is, when you get a bigger idea, you get a bigger experience. So this sadness, this ennui, this feeling of limbo that we might find ourselves in can be released because awareness is curative. And when we know it, we know how to set into mind through this beautiful teaching everything that's required in order for us to be able to move forward. And that requirement is to set into mind through spiritual mind treatment a willingness to be able to hear the receptive truth of the new idea that's coming. That means we have to stop and block all the negativity that comes in and instead step into it fully orbed and reborn to be able to hear it and experience it. And we need to understand and know everything we need to know is available to us if we ask for it and if we receive it. We have practitioners available. It can be done. And if you're anything like me, at this particular point in my life, I choose to do it. God bless you. Know you're loved. Talk to you next week.
Wow. Woo! Dr. Kenn in the house.
We're going to have a song now.
Do the song now.
Yep.
Hang on just a second while I switch over to
Okay.
different device for myself. I didn't want to do this in the middle of there.
And Jane always picks out the perfect song.
You will do amazing things with the choice each new day brings, and with every step you take, there's the progress that you make. The reason you live is there in every gift you give. Love your life, love your dreams. You will do amazing things. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. You don't have to work it out. Just stay in the here and now. Let your mind rest for a little while. Sometimes deepest answers come when you're out there having fun. So close your eyes and take a breath and smile. Amazing, you will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things.
Thank you. Perfect song, Jane. Thank you. Okay, I have to say, when I first was listening to this, I didn't want to hear that it was going to be another 3 years. So I kind of put it away. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go there. And then something kept bringing me back and bringing me back. And, I thought it was a good thing to realize that we have to stop putting everything on hold, you know? And I know that's what I've been doing. You know, when this is over, I'll do this and that. So it kind of, it kind of gives you a little boost knowing.
You know, we're so used to thinking about things not changing, and we're so resistant to change. And yet the world is always changing. Tomorrow is never the same as it was yesterday. And so I mean, it seems to me that the people that are saying, oh, this is going to be, you know, it's going to be 3 years before we're out of this, or no, this is the new normal, or things like that. I mean, there are people who have developed the mental habit of kind of thinking about things in a negative sort of way. And that's going to be their take on it. But the fact of the matter is that, no, it's not going to be like this forever. And, you know, something else will come up that will change things in a different way. And, you know, our individual spiritual mandate, if you will, is to take the circumstances that you have and do something with it.
Right on.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know,
Restaurants keep getting very creative.
yeah.
Yeah.
They can't find enough heaters now to heat people.
Yeah.
People are buying them up, outside heaters. And
Yeah.
I was just going to look into that this afternoon.
Buy
good.
Buy stock in outdoor heater companies.
Yeah, but they're building bubbles now. So people sit, you know, each of the tables have little bubbles around them plastic bubbles that you can see through.
I
They
think
gotta do
Chicago.
something, right?
I think Chicago's doing that. All down their street, they're just having like outdoor furniture with the plastic cover over it, you know, and with a heater inside, so you can eat with your friends that you think don't have anything wrong with them and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
I was reading Science of Mind this morning on page 197, the big book. I don't know if any of y'all have ever read the big book of Science of Mind,
Yeah.
but only our concepts limit us. And that was on page 197. And it's exactly what he was talking about.
Yeah.
This is a terrific book to read.
Yeah, it is.
So I have a little story about getting a bigger idea or not.
Okay.
And it's a nice way to remember it. So there was this young man went down to the river to go fishing, and he noticed an old man a little farther down the river, and he was doing this strange thing. The young man thought he was doing this rather strange thing. He'd catch a fish, and then he had this stick sticking up from the ground that he'd measure the fish by. You know, he'd put the fish up to it, and then most of them he was throwing back into the water after he held the fish up to the stick, and he was going, "What in the world?" And he was trying to figure out why he'd be doing that. He says, "Well, I wonder, do they get too bony if they get too big or something? This kind of fish that he's catching." And finally, his curiosity just got the better of him, and he went down and he asked the old man. He says, why do you keep throwing the fish that are, you know, back into the river?" He says, "Well, sonny, you see this little stick the stick I got right here?" He says, "That stick is the exact measurement of my frying pan." Think about it.
He needs to buy a bigger frying pan.
That's right. He just kept throwing all of those great ideas he had right back into the river because he didn't have a mind big enough to hold them.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems pretty ridiculous, but that's the lesson.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So get a bigger idea, as Barker said.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was good. That was a really good lesson, I think.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. And he did say that 3 things he said to do is adjust your prayer,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's a good thing to remember to do, you know, make it bigger and do something different.
Right. Like I think a lot of people have not been in nature that much to walk around, to look at the birds, you know, to try to figure out what bird this is or that. And I think there's a whole lot we can do to help ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't myself, I needed to hear that, you know, start looking for something else, start, you know, trying to get a new, different idea, things you always wanted to do and you never had time to do it.
Right.
There's so much on the internet. So Paul, you'll be happy to hear this. I'm going to try to take a computer course. I'm going to be very glad with that. My kids too. So that's what I'm going to look into.
When are we going to get to see your Halloween concept?
Oh, I finished one of my ghosts. I was showing them today. Here's my ghost that I made. Can you see it?
Yeah, a little bit. It looks really different.
It's a wide chicken water.
Ah,
That is so cute.
looks like a woman.
Yeah.
She's back from the dead.
I'm making 3 of them. And we're going to have some dancing in the backyard with lights and smoke and all.
Well, when are we going to come out and see it?
Well, it's going to be Halloween weekend.
Well, no, we want to come before then so it wouldn't be so many people.
Oh, well, when they come, everybody has a time slot.
As to what?
A time slot. You can only come during that time.
Right.
Walk through. But I'll let you know.
Okay.
We're starting Thursday. The Girl Scouts are coming Thursday. So, still working on it.
Carolyn wants her VIP preview.
Okay.
Friday's a good time.
Okay.
Paul, we're getting this echo.
Yeah.
We're getting the echo. Are you
Echo.
still connected?
Yeah. Oh, you want me to unconnect?
Yeah.
I was gonna.
Everybody but you.
All right, wait.
I'm on mute over here.
Echoing.
Want me to mute?
I was going to share a story that I heard recently that I think might be a little bit inspiring for people. So this story is that this woman was giving a lecture and she was talking about, actually I'm getting a huge echo.
Yeah.
I wonder if some people might be able to mute or
Yeah,
something.
why don't we mute us and just see if that echo goes away?
Yeah, I think that's better.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this woman was telling this story about if we could just visualize in front of us on the left side of ourselves, the idea of a pond that's actually a swamp. And in that swamp is where our daily negativity is going, our judgments, our anger, our irritation, our impatience, all of those things constitute the swamp. And then on the other side, there's another pond that's really beautiful and clear and wonderful and calming. And in that pond is where our positive thoughts go, or the best part of ourselves go on each day. So what she was basically saying is to really think about what is the best moment that we've had so far today, and to build up the pond on the right side and not so much the swamp. So she was just kind of highlighting really interesting little moments, like if your best moment of the day was sitting and having a cup of tea, to really claim that and honor it and grasp it and take it in. If your best moment of the day so far was petting your cat and having a moment with your cat, then to really wrap your mind around that and begin building up the pond on the right side and reducing the things that we have and that we put into the swamp. And she also suggested at the end of the day to really think about what have been my best moments today, and to begin to really highlight that. And I really liked the wording that she was using in terms of what have been my best moments so far today, and to really acknowledge and claim that. So I thought I would just share that because I found that very inspirational.
Thank you. That's really nice. It's like doing your gratitude journal at night and trying to remember, the highlights of the day.
Let's talk about that gratitude journal. I have done that before.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, I had to go get in the bed almost as soon as dinner was over because that gratitude list had grown so big. I kept going back to the beginning and never taking anything out.
Oh, okay.
Like people who were in my life, so it gets so big. So I haven't managed my gratitude journal very well. Any ideas?
Well, just each day you write down 3 things that you're most grateful for, perhaps, or kind of like Mala was suggesting.
Yeah, but how do you decide 3 best things? I mean, there's so much.
Well, you just pick the 3 things that stand out for you that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like your best moments.
Yes.
Your best, well, if your best moments, it doesn't have to be a moment in time. It could be a thing. It could be a new bit of knowledge that you acquired that day. It could be, it isn't necessarily related to time. After all, space and time has no meaning in spirit. You know, it doesn't have to be something you have, because all things pass away.
Yeah.
If you think about it as a feeling, what are 3 feelings you had that day?
Yeah.
That really made you feel good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I guess just limiting, and it's hard to limit. It really is.
Well, it goes without saying that you're grateful for your family and your friends and stuff, but just like a feeling, like if somebody said something to you and really made you feel good. I mean, that's great. You're focusing on that feeling.
Or maybe it's telling you, Sylvia, you're doing too much.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's hard. It's so hard to limit.
Take some time for yourself and just relax a little.
What are we hearing in the background?
Somebody's television on?
Oh, that's me.
Oh, okay. All right, that's good.
Maybe you could just globally be grateful for your list.
Right, Tom.
So that encompasses everything, and then you could go on for the day.
Yeah.
For each page. Thank you.
Or you could speed read like they do in the commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And repetition is important.
Yeah.
Pair it with your breathing, and breathe in the flower or the taste of chocolate or whatever it is. Breathe it in and repeat it. Just repeat it. Self-tattoo. Write it on the palm of your hand. Carry it with you.
I think for me, I've been sort of saturated with the word gratitude. And so it started to kind of erode in me, you know, I mean, not completely, but I think I just got tired of the word gratitude. What are we grateful for? You know, it just feels like it's been the buzzword the last year or so, or maybe longer. So for me, what really inspired me was to rephrase it and think about what's been my best moment yet today. You know, so I don't know. For me, that just made a real difference.
I like that.
Yeah.
I don't like the word gratitude anymore. Not that it's not a good word. I just think it's way, you know, it's been overused a little.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a Taoist story, something along the lines of a guy's running away from a tiger and not paying attention where he's going. He ends up going over a cliff and is hanging there by a small branch, which is slowly getting ready to break. So he could climb up and be attacked by a tiger or fall to his death. And he's sitting there and he looks around like what, and he sees a small berry on the bush, and he lives in that moment, and he picks the berry and enjoys it in that moment. So it's not always easy to find something to be grateful for in each moment. But I'm sorry, I just want to sit there and I want to get to a point where I'm not judging each moment as good or bad, because it's all good. And it may be hard in some moments to find the good in it, that you're being shown a weakness of yours that makes you upset by somebody's behavior, but it is something to be relished. I think it's Joan Osborne wrote, I could be in the street, I could be stuck in some doorway, down in the pouring rain. Now there is not one place where I feel alone. And that's what I'm reaching for.
Nice.
Nice idea.
So, Ken, what you're saying, does it have to be good or bad? Does anything have to be good or bad?
You're judging it.
Right. It's only a perception.
And then creating resistance.
Judgment.
Well, and my philosophy is that all things are blessings. So you can focus on that I'm not enjoying this, whatever's happening very much, or you can focus on there's some kind of blessing in here somewhere. I don't know what it is now, but it's there.
Yeah.
Well, both of those things are good practices. What I like about what Malo is telling us is that it's a reminder to get into that frame of mind, to acknowledge that frame of mind, because a grateful mind is a great mind, and it attracts more, good experiences to you, or it attracts even more of what you talk about, Kent, of making the experiences good. If you've trained your mind to think in that direction, then that's going to help with, appreciating everything in the swamp, right?
Yep.
As well.
I'm sure that berry tasted really good to that man.
The swamp is itself just a perception. I mean, you can have, I think Seth said that a focus on the positive without a commensurate focus on the negative can be a good thing, because it's just like positive thinking. And you're the one, I hate to say this, but you're the one responsible.
Yeah.
It's all an inside job.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you choose the way you see everything.
They had a special on last night I was watching, and it was, I don't know, 14 years since they came out with the Law of Attraction, The Secret.
Yeah, 2006.
Yeah.
When it came out.
What happens, where are we now after the Law of Attraction? And they had people that were using it in different ways, and it was interesting. It was interesting to revisit that whole thing, with The Secret and the Law of Attraction and what you're thinking, and everything kind of goes back to that, having the couple of seconds to change a negative thought into a positive.
I feel like I really want to weigh in here for just a moment.
Uh-huh.
I see a lot of people when they are moving into, like, they have to always think positive or always change their thoughts. I think sometimes I have a little resistance, because I really believe we have to have a healthy range of emotions, especially when it comes to loss and grieving. And I always tell my clients and others that, we can't live in those outer realms of rage or anger or depression and lethargy, but we have to have a healthy range of emotion as humans to be able to visit those areas, but not live there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's always helpful or good to push aside anger or upsetness or grieving or sadness when it's warranted in terms of a grieving or a loss situation. I think we have to really go through those in healthy human ways, but again, not live there, but not oppress or repress those emotions or thoughts either. So anyway, I just want to weigh in on that. I don't think it's healthy at all to constantly repress any kind of negative thought. And I'm not even sure negative is the right word, because it's grieving, it's loss, it's our humanness that we have to move through and then get to the other side. So anyway, I just wanted to weigh in with that thought.
No,
Yeah, I wasn't trying to advocate any denial. I mean, if you find yourself tumbling down a hill and then deposited in the middle of a highway with a semi barreling down at you, fear is a good response, and you should embrace it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What did you show, Paul?
What was that?
What did you just show?
I was showing this book that's titled "Feelings Buried Alive Never Die."
Uh-huh. Okay.
Great title.
Yeah. Your negative feelings that you don't acknowledge and don't let out, and they have to come out some other way, and so they come out in ailments and diseases and stuff.
Very
True, Anne. That's very true.
I always tell people you have to name it to tame it. And I really like that phrase because it really empowers a person to be able to, you know, have the capacity to heal themselves, but they have to name it to tame it.
Well, there's this kind of attitude about the negative emotions are bad.
Right.
And I've come to understand that there isn't any such thing as good and bad. You know, the story of Adam and Eve is about them eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Before that, evil didn't exist for them. Bad didn't exist for them. It was all good. And so, you know, that event was them taking on this idea that something could be bad when it really doesn't. So, you know, if you look at all things as having their place, then and you don't say, oh, well, this is negative feelings, it's bad. It's not bad. It's just you have to understand what the effects of it are, the consequences of it are. But it doesn't mean it's bad. It just maybe it's less good.
You just don't enjoy it at the time.
Yeah, maybe you don't enjoy it much in the time, but that doesn't mean it's bad.
I want to thank you, Mala. You used a word that I just looked up, warranted. And it's on the same point that you're making, Paula. And warranted, one of the definitions of it is necessary. And so just good word. I'll put that into use.
I don't know who's it that said between grief and nothing at all, I choose grief. I can't remember. I don't know who said that.
Well, grieving, not necessarily some of the other negative emotions, but grieving is a natural process. And that's really kind of what this book is about is, it is a natural process, and it's something that the more you resist it, the harder it is to experience it.
Force negative emotion.
You know, it's better to recognize this is a natural process. These are some emotions that I'm going to have relative to the death of a relationship. And, you just kind of, it's like cracks in the concrete. You're going to have to move towards them and past them as they come along.
I think the other thing too is that emotions don't have any timelines.
Yeah.
What happened to us at whatever age, 5 years old, 7, 10 years old, if that hasn't been processed or dealt with, it's as fresh at 50 or 60 years old as it was the day an event happened or whatever unfolded in our childhoods. And I think the expression of that pain into adulthood sometimes is overlooked in terms of that's also grieving. You know, that anger, that rage, or that depression, is an expression of long held trauma or unresolved pain. So I think we almost have to broaden what grieving means, because that's part of the grieving process when we're dealing with unresolved childhood issues. So I don't know, I just feel like I want to expand that concept of grieving, that it doesn't have to be just a current situational event.
No. I define grieving as the process of adapting to a death in a relationship. Now, that relationship could be a person, it could be a thing, it could be an idea. The death in the relationship doesn't mean that the person died. It just means that the relationship is not what it used to be.
If you're upset by somebody's passing on, you think of the frame of mind you're in if you live in different cities. you have a connection to this person, but you don't see them every day, and you might even talk to them on the phone, but they're not really present in your life. And if they do physically pass away, well, what's the difference? I mean, how much of it is in our mind and our connection to the duality of this physical world?
I was thinking about relationships. You never hear them say very much that you were mismatched. That what you expected from a person isn't what that person is going to give you, and you were mismatched. And I think that's a terrific word to put out there, because it takes away the blame. It wasn't because they're bad people or you were a bad person. It was just you were mismatched.
And we're all
And I think
mismatched.
that, well, I know, but sometimes you're mismatched worse than others. And also, when you say name it to tame it, you have to recognize it first. You have to recognize the name first. And that's what psychology is all about, getting them to recognize what it is to tame it. And I think that is a lot of work, and that's why you're very good at it, Mala, I'm sure.
Thank you, Caroline.
And Bob, too.
I have to jump off because I have another Zoom call this morning, but it was great to see everybody. Thank you so much.
Nice to see you.
Glad you joined us, Mala.
Yeah,
Thank you,
nice to
Mala.
see you.
Thanks for all your inspiring thoughts.
Take care.
Well, you helped.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know, really good actors actually take all our challenging situations, if they remember in the moment, and say, oh, and they welcome them. They say, this is exciting. I can use this.
Yeah.
I can use this experience. And you know, next time I'm auditioning for a role.
Yeah. Yeah.
They really do.
That's what I say. All things are blessings.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Even,
that, you know, that's a way to not to experience it, but yet to also have a part of you that stays outside of the experience. It stays larger than the experience. And then, but you're able then to actually go through the experience and have the emotions and to use it. But yet at the same time, you've got this part of you that knows all of these lessons that you're talking about here, Paul.
Yeah. It's like we have a friend that co-authored a book with Lisa Nichols. And it's, I believe it was titled Blessings Wrapped in Sandpaper.
I like that.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very good.
One thing I just want to get back to, one thing that Dr. Gordon said, not to personalize this COVID situation, that it's just nature's way.
yeah.
And that's kind of a good way to look at it too.
I agree.
You know, I like that.
It's nature's way of telling everybody, go to your room.
It's nature's way of telling us that we're going to a timeout. You know?
Yeah. Well, this happens every several hundred years. So you just said this is different because we have such great communication around the world. So we know what's going on around the world.
We know what's going on, and to a degree, what's significant this time is, you know, the pandemic of the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. They didn't have as good a medicine that we do now, and a certain degree of what's going on now is like, oh, we've got all this advanced medication, we should be able to solve this problem just like that. So there's a degree of disappointment in our technology that we haven't solved the problem and adapted to it yet, that it's taking time to do that.
We are so impatient.
Yeah, we're being impatient, and we're also maybe a little proud of ourselves that we should, be able to handle stuff like this instantly. When you think you're when you think you have the technology to handle everything that's coming along, then something new is going to come up that's going to challenge you to expand and have a bigger idea as a result of that challenge. So, and that's a good thing.
Working together globally.
Yeah.
Learning to share with the rest of the world, which is a gift in itself, you know.
If whenever you make big decisions in your life, usually you go in by yourself and you sit down and you think about things in a deeper fashion. And like you were saying, the world's sort of being forced to do that. They're being forced to go into their personal space and think deeper. And I'm trying to have faith that that's going to have a profound effect on everybody's attitude.
Yeah. Interesting that in the isolation we're in the isolation we are learning to collaborate and cooperate more than we did otherwise.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's doing this, if any reporters are doing this, but it sure would be nice to see a behind the scenes look at all the scientists and the researchers and so forth that are working on this thing, this cooperation that they say they're doing to come up with the vaccine. And I guess they're all promising to put it out for free. Is that right? Anyway, it'd be wonderful to see a behind the scenes report of all of these different people all over the world that are working on this, and to look at it through those eyes rather than the eyes that so many of us are, very wary about vaccines. And but it would be really nice. I hope somebody's doing that they're actually just going around the world and working with these people and watching them and interviewing them and filming them and everything while they're trying to come up with this.
I want to see the politicians take the vaccines first.
I'm with you there.
Let's use them for our guinea piggies. Yeah, Jane, I always said if they were going to give me the flu vaccine, they'd have to give it to me in the rear end because I'd be headed the other way.
Well, whatever they gave Trump and Christie worked.
Yeah.
That cocktail, whatever they put together.
If he even had it, yeah.
Are you going to know what it is, though? Are we?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. I think only 10 people have gotten it, and I'm just wondering who the other are.
Well, Christie didn't get that Regeneron. He got the remdesivir and the what's the other one? The plasma, I think. I'm afraid if Christie had gotten this at the beginning, he'd have been I don't think he'd have made it. He has asthma and he's, so overweight. Anyway, they are coming up with some things apparently that are helping out.
And everybody's body reacts differently to everything. And it's just.
Yeah.
Okay. I would have liked to have seen through the eyes of McCain's mother, who just passed at 108.
Wow.
Oh, I know it.
Yeah.
To go through the 1918 pandemic.
Yeah.
29, all the world wars, to where we are right now.
And I think she had a good mind too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she had a great head of hair all the way through.
Amazing.
Hey, Tom, do you remember Virginia Hohenstein?
Yes.
I talk to her every day.
How old is she now?
101.
Wow.
Oh, heavens.
We have a little literary society and we read to each other every day. I am currently, the last book I read to her was The Prophet, and we're currently on Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, neat.
And she reads to me from letters from this book that they made into a movie. Some of you may have seen, the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. So that's fun too. For a while, she was reading from a book of poetry to me and little short stories, and I've learned a lot.
Yes, we do. We do. Well, that's great. Where is she now, Jane?
She's in the Rosewood Village, which is, you know, right across the street from the old senior center there.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, Jane, I have a friend there who is 100.
Is that right?
And she at Rosewood, and she writes poetry. She's published her 3rd poetry book.
Oh my! What's her name? I'll ask Virginia if she knows her.
Virginia James.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be great. They could
Virginia's
become
the name.
friends.
Yeah. Well, of course, they make them isolate pretty much, although they do take them into the dining hall once in a while, and they have them. They put the tables together and have them sit, you know, far apart from each other, and they do that about once a week, I think, to try to.
That's good.
What's your Virginia's last name?
Hohenstein. Hohenstein.
Oh, and I'll ask Virginia if she knows her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So once again, what's your Virginia's last name?
James.
Virginia James. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jane, tell her hi from the McKinleys that used to sing in the choir.
Okay, I will do that. I will.
Tell her I think about her, Carolyn.
Yes, I'm pretty sure she remembers you, Carolyn.
Okay.
Very memorable. Very.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, it's so wonderful, Tom, you know, and Sylvia, I'm sure you know, to talk to these people. That's, you know, about their memories. I took Virginia to a play about the making of the movie Gone with the Wind. And right before it started, she reached over and she whispered to me, she goes, you know, I stood in a line that went around the block to see that movie when it came out.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, and so many years from now, I'm going to be telling somebody, I stood in a line around the building to go watch Star Wars when it first came out.
Or you stand
Now we're
in
standing in line so we can vote.
Yeah.
Right. Or go into the grocery store.
Yeah, I'm going to Home Depot.
I had an aunt that was a nun. She was the Mother Superior of the Franciscan order. And I told her when she was a nun 50 years, I would have a party for her. And she did. She was a nun for 50 years. So I had this party, and the convent put the invitation out on their webpage. And I had nuns from all over the world calling me, coming in for this party.
Oh my heavens.
And I had to get bigger and bigger, you know, because there was so many people. And the nuns, it was a long story. My aunt died the night before the party.
Oh my gosh.
She decided she didn't want to go, and she called me up like the day before. Well, she was in a nursing home, and she said, no, I don't want it now. And I'm like, you're having it. I'm coming, getting you dressed, and you're going.
So she died to get out of it.
So she died to get out of it.
That's what my brother said. That was the only way she could get away from you.
I was dying to get out of that party.
Yeah.
But my point was, when I had the party and I made it a celebration of life, and everybody had an amazing time. And I just sat and spoke with all these nuns from all over the world, and they were a nursing order. And they were in World War II all over the place. And they had letters from the president. They wrote to both sides of World War II, and they said, if you don't bomb us, we'll take care of both sides. And the stories from these women that lived through this were so amazing. It was just profound. And I'm like, I wish you could all just talk to somebody and write this down, because their experiences were absolutely amazing. Yeah. That they lived through all of this and what they did, and powerful women and strong women, you know.
So was the wake fun?
Oh, it was. It really was. I had a conga dancing, and the nuns get kind of wild. They
Wait a minute.
conga
Nuns
line in
conga
the
dancing?
bathrooms and everything. They really were. We really had a good time. And there had to be almost maybe 75 nuns there.
Oh my. Where did you have this?
Well, I kept changing it because it kept getting bigger and bigger.
University Hall.
Yeah, hall, and they wanted music and they wanted dancing, and it was really good. And we had a mass before, and I mean nobody knew she died, so I went and had a picture really blown up, and I just came down the aisle with this picture and a lily, and I just put it on the altar, and that's how I told everybody she passed away. It was really, but it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was a celebration of life because she was the Mother Superior, the order. So everybody came from everywhere, So.
Where was it that you had it?
In New Jersey. In New Jersey. Yeah.
Great story, Kathy.
Yeah.
Good story, yeah.
She was a character. She was New Jersey's Woman of the Year. She was the Grand Marshal for the St. Patrick's Parade in New Jersey. She was and she made a nursing home and a mental hospital in Jersey City. And when she got old, they put her in a nursing home, and the nursing home called me up and said, "We can't take her anymore. We're putting her in a limousine and sending her to you." And I'm like, that's what she did. She came to me.
Where'd you put her?
In my house. She stayed with me for a couple of years. Yeah. Yeah.
Did she get out of the limousine conga dancing?
It was, she was, like a general. So, it wasn't very easy to take care of her.
She was used to getting her away.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
But she used to tell my kids that she was dying. She would say, "Good night, I'm going to die tonight." And it would freak them out. Totally freak them out. I said, "You're not going anywhere. You're too stubborn."
Yeah.
But it was.
So she was your mother's sister?
My father's sister.
Your father's sister. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But
yeah, you should have had a tape recorder in there.
Oh, I would have loved. I mean, the stories about the war and how they took care of it, and these women really had so much courage to stand up to everybody, and get everything done. It was really great.
They had to.
I mean, yeah. Yep.
So that tells us to do some things too,
Yeah.
to stand up for what you believe in.
I like it. Tell them not to bomb us, and we'll take care of both sides.
Yeah.
Then you could have told them, don't bomb anybody, and we won't have to take care of either side.
They painted big red crosses on the roofs, they told me.
And now they don't pay any attention to it,
And I actually found a letter
Right.
from, I forgot who it was, that she wrote to, I think it was in Germany, him giving them permission to take in both sides. It was really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, Tom, you were thinking out of the box. No war.
Yeah. A bigger reality,
Yeah, exactly.
Another way.
Okay.
Well, anybody else have anything else? We're moving along with our phase 2. We're going to be doing our, what are we doing, Paul?
Well,
the bylaws.
Yeah, we're going to go through and we have a sample bylaws that we need to season to taste.
Yeah.
So we're, Jane and Ann and Kathy and I will be doing that. When was it? Wednesday or Thursday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we're moving along on that. They haven't had their meeting yet, so we haven't officially passed phase 1 yet, but we have all the stuff in place for phase 1, and it's just waiting for them to have their meeting and do the blessing it thing.
And I'm working on 3 different insurance companies this week too, so we should have that by next week. So we're coming along.
Kathy, did I or Paul send you American Professional Insurance?
No.
They'd be worth. That's who I have my insurance with, and that's for LPC, but they're a big company, and
American Professional
Insurance. Yeah.
So they do. You have E&O with them or something like that?
I don't know what that is.
Errors and omissions for when I did consulting as a contractor, I had to have E&O insurance, errors and omissions.
Yeah, I don't even know. You're much more thorough than I am.
Thank you, Bob. I'll check that out. And I just wanted to say, we're here because of all the support from you guys, and for our group. So, and one way you support us is with donations, and I'm very grateful for that, because when you give to us, we give it back to you. Another law of circulation. So we're coming up with insurance, which is about $350, and we need $350 for the application fees. So we're going to be draining the money we have. So
a little bit.
Yeah.
It's $100 to get the LLC.
Yeah.
Which I need to do like this week.
Expenses this month. So
now that we have our official name, I can actually get the LLC with the state.
Okay, so we're officially going to be the Center for Spiritual Living Teaching Chapter. Charlottesville Teaching Chapter. So that's what we're going to be doing. So, okay, I think that's it. We'll do our song, Jane.
We're just going to do Blessed Always a cappella.
Okay, let's mute everybody. Michelle?
Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Once more. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen.
And again, if anybody needs any treatments, just let me know. And I know we are amazing, powerful spiritual beings, and we live our lives from the point of overflowing fullness. And we're open and receptive to greater ideas and bigger experiences. And our lives are filled with good, and we're always expanding, accepting, and enjoying all our blessings. And we go today in safety, we go today in love, sharing these truths with the world. And so it is.
So it is.
Enjoy, everybody. It was so nice to see you all.
See you, Kathy. We'll be talking to you.
Okay. And if any,
thank you all. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's nice seeing all your wonderful faces in my room.
Okay, Betty, take care.
If anybody else wants to join us in going over these
bylaws, yeah, let us know.
We'll see what you come up with.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can join us. Anybody can join us. We're just going line by line and trying to get rid of stuff we don't need. You know? So
keep it open to everybody. So that's all you have to do.
Yeah, yeah. And then when we do it, we'll send it all out to you and see. You could read
so
it.
you throw darts at it.
Yeah.
I'll take anybody to vote if they want to go.
Yeah.
I voted in person curbside at the registrar's office downtown the other day.
Yeah, I voted yesterday in person.
Well, they have on Fifth Street right near me, they have, you just drive up in your car and you go out and you put it in the
mailbox.
Yeah.
They came out to me. They brought me a ballot out to my car.
Good. You're Hollywood, Jane.
I voted already too, Carolyn, but I'll go.
Listen here now, we don't want to get you in trouble.
In the Virgin Islands, they said vote early and vote often.
Right. I think that's what Trump said too. Okay, I'll let you go.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Blessings.
Bye-bye.
Blessings.
Bye.
Kent, when is your oh, he's gone. Oh well, never mind. Let's see. Stop share.
Yeah.
Stop